Alright, hey guys, so I'm back with the video that I had promised in the last two ones and the little parts that I added on to it that I would make, which was responding to John M's comment about 2 or 3 weeks ago on one of my videos about my opinions on prime leasing. Now, if I can figure out how to add it in Cyberlink and put it somewhere in the video, it'll be somewhere around here. If not, the comment was, hey Cameron, just curious what your thoughts are in regards to prime leasing. It seems to be a tale of two worlds. One world is Junior Honduras, who now owns four trucks, or so he says, and the other world is Smart Trucking and yourself's experiences and opinions that leases are not good. Just love to hear your thoughts on both of these. Thanks. So I did provide the link to the smart trucking video that somebody else had linked over to me, and his story reporting on what somebody else had went through with Prime and the court cases and all that kind of stuff and the rulings in regards to that. And looking back at it, if I was going to do it again with the knowledge that I have nowadays, 3 years after I started driving, 2 years being a company driver away from Prime, um, would I go back and be a company driver or a lease driver? I would go back and be a company driver. Now, am I necessarily saying that lease is bad or lease is bad? Because as y'all know, I've basically called the lease with Prime a rental program, renting the truck under an LLC. In my case, I used an LLC to reduce liability on my part in case, God forbid, something were to happen. They would go after my LLC instead of me personally. So they would go after those finances instead. Thank God nothing ever did happen. So in the end, when I left Prime, I just didn't renew the LLC and let it go. But I'm not saying leasing is bad because I know there's a lot of people that have worked out for it. Junior Honduras is one example. Haven't seen a ton of his videos. I have seen a few. I was not aware that he says he has four trucks now, but I know there are other guys with Prime who did lease to own on trucks. And then once they finished up the lease to own and actually owned the truck themselves, they put a driver in it and then contracted it out to Prime again, basically as an owner operator leasing the truck back to Prime, and then they just went ahead and did another lease to own on their side and just basically added trucks and had their own little mini trucking company inside of Prime, which it sounds like that's what Junior Honduras is doing as well, which in that case is a perfect example of somebody who figured out how to work the system and make it very profitable for themselves. And Prime obviously doesn't care because as long as they've got trucks rolling that are following their guidelines and making them money, they don't care how you're doing it. They are always happy to bring in owner operators, so they don't really care. And then my trainer that I had during TNT, since I had two different trainers, one for PSD and one for TNT, had left Prime shortly before I did due to some stuff, none of which was on him. It was personal choices on his part to go and be an owner operator. And I just talked to him recently, and he is actually back at Prime. He did not go back as a flatbed driver this time. He went back as a reefer driver this time. Part of which he went back during COVID. So reefer is obviously a much bigger and more profitable section right now, delivering food and goods and all that kind of stuff than flatbed is when the pandemic was going on. Plus, the pay rates I've always known were better for reefer than they were for flatbed. I just had no desire to do reefer when I was there. Probably another bad decision that I made, but you live and you learn. Um, and I don't regret doing flatbed because I got the skills that I have nowadays and they're still paying off. But yeah, so for them, it has been a profitable thing. I'm pretty sure Junior Honduras is a trainer and goes through and trains PSD and TNT students, which most of the guys that I talked to who were successful doing leases were trainers. They did at least the TNT form of it, if not PSD and TNT. And with, here you go. And with nowadays TNT being stretched out even further, according to a comment from Joey Joseph, and if I messed up your name, I'm sorry. I just pronounced it the way it's spelled on here. He came to Prime with his CDL, 1 month experience that he got from a different school, and they said that he's got to do 60,000 miles now. They classified him as a C-seat driver. It's $600 weekly pay for the first 30 days, and then 700 a week up to the 40,000 mile mark, and then it's 800 a week after those 40,000 until he finished TNT at 60,000 before he's eligible to upgrade to his own truck. Now, if you do PSD through Prime and do the whole thing through Prime, are they making you do 60,000 miles? I don't know. If any of y'all do, please put a comment down below and let me know, because I am very curious, and I know that a lot of folks that watch these videos are watching them because they're considering going to Prime, or they're comparing Prime to CRST and CR England and KLLM and the other training companies, or Snyder. Um, so put it down there. Let them have that information that maybe you wish you had had before you went to Prime, the reason that you were watching my videos. So let me know, let everybody else know. But yeah, so I know for them, leasing works. It didn't work for me. I tried to do it the solo route, and it wasn't profitable. As I said on my last pay stub, I ended up taking home before taxes 20 some odd $1,000 after a year of work, and I stayed out on the road for usually 2 to 3 months at a time, and then would go home for maybe a week. Um, so for me, no, I would not do it again. It did not work the way that I did it, and granted, there's probably some things I could have done better. I could have went reefer. I could have not said I could have said, fine, I'll go up into the Rocky Mountains in the winter. I'll go into New York City. I will, Nico, not right now, buddy. I'll go into New York City. I'll do all this kind of stuff. I could have taken more loads in a week instead of trying to do the long runs where I didn't have to unload and reload as often and tarp and untarp loads as often. I could have done the runs where I was unloading and reloading every day or every other day, like a lot of guys did, which paid smaller amounts per load, but they got a lot more loads, so I'm pretty sure they ended up making more money. Um, so I could have done that stuff. There's stuff that I could have done differently, and if I had to go back and do the lease route, things that I would have done differently. But if I went back and had the choice, which I right now I have no desire to go back over the road. I like being home daily. I would go back as a company driver, because the additional freedoms I got as a lease driver were not worth the additional hassle that I got as a lease driver. Um, But yeah, so I mean, that's my experience. Everything I've said in this video is my opinion from my experiences. By no means is it the law in regards to this kind of stuff. It's just my opinion. Just trying to tell y'all what I think from my experiences to help y'all out in the future. Um, and as always, I say in these videos, leave me a comment. I do most of the videos I do nowadays, especially since my GoPro just died, so doing stuff with the MG is a little tricky. But most of the videos I do nowadays are answering y'all's questions, whether it's doing a video with a whole bunch of y'all's questions all being answered at once, or a video like this where it is a topic that I can actually speak long enough on for to make a video on its own. But yeah, drop y'all's comments, questions, all that stuff down in the comment section of this video or any videos. I read all of them, I look at all of them, and I try to respond to all of them. I'm not as fast about it as I used to be, just because work is a little bit crazy and I don't spend nearly as much time sitting in the back of a truck at the end of the day flipping through YouTube and all that stuff. A lot of times now it's come home, eat, take a shower, go to sleep, because I gotta be back to gotta be back to work in a few hours. Especially with some of the runs I do where start at 10 in the morning, get back home at midnight, and then have to be back at 10 o'clock the next morning again. So it's not as much time sitting there going through the comments. It's days off like today where I'll get back at night and all of a sudden be like, oh, I need to go back and respond to some comments or make a video or something like that. So yeah, drop them down below. I'll always be happy to answer them. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will continue trying to make a video a week. That is my goal, is put out a video a week on Mondays, because I'm off Sundays, Mondays now, so that lets me either film or edit on Sunday and try to get it out by around between noon and 2 Eastern time on Mondays. So I'm going to continue trying to do that. As y'all know, I'm not always great about doing that kind of stuff. But I am trying to get better about that because I do want to continue keeping this channel growing. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy helping y'all out, and I hope that y'all still appreciate that I am making these videos for you and continuing to share my experiences. But yeah, until next time, y'all stay safe out there on the road, and I will talk to y'all later.